friends, I'm Jess and welcome to the Hexed Library, where I post reading, writing, book and planner related content a couple of times a week. Today's going to be the final book haul of 2024. Yikes. I have not been creating much content lately, as I'm sure you have noticed if you are a long-time viewer or a short-time viewer. If you've just been here a little while, you'll notice not a lot. What has there been a lot of? Book hauls. Why? Couldn't tell you. I mean, I could tell you. It's because I've been buying books, but I'm not supposed to be. I did pretty good for the majority of the year until about August or September, and then I was just like, I like books, and then started buying books again. So it's a problem. And while I would like to tell you that I'll stop, you and I both know that's a lie. I have 28 books for you today. They are separated out. Let's start with books I have already read. It's a small stack, but at least there's some in it. One you actually haven't heard me talk about on the channel yet because it is a December read is The Whispering Night by Susan Dennard. I have both the US copy as well as the Daphne Press edition from Illumicrate. I ordered mine signed by Suze from her local indie. So I have this beautiful signed copy, and I still need to get the UK paperback edition, but I will do that next year. That's next year's problem. This is the final book in the Luminary series by Susan Dennard that follows a group of luminaries who basically each family is like a day of the week, and each family has its own like family crest and what their motto is and what they stand for. And our main character, Winnie Wednesday, is a Wednesday bear through and through. She is loyal, and that is her big thing. And we love Winnie. Her family has kind of been exiled from the luminaries due to a traitor in their family, and she is trying to get her way back into the luminaries and also prove the traitor's innocence throughout the entire series, and it has been a really fun ride. I very much enjoyed this entire trilogy. One that was also a December read is The Holiday Cottage by Sarah Morgan. I have discussed at length on this channel. Sarah Morgan writes these fantastic Christmas books. She writes more than just Christmassy, but I really only have like the emotional fortitude for that kind of emotional roller coaster at Christmas time. Her books are always multi-generational, typically dealing with mothers and daughters, also sometimes just other forms of family connections. There's usually friendships involved. There's usually some kind of great past trauma. I always end up sobbing, but I have a fantastic time. This book was no different. So next we have The September House by Carissa Orlando. This book is about a woman who lives in a haunted house. It always kind of comes to head in September, hence why it's called The September House. Her husband has gone missing. Her daughter is coming back to visit after a while because she knows her father's gone missing, and she wonders why no one is really looking for him. And this book like follows the haunted house, figuring out what happened to the father, figuring out why the house is haunted, and also in a weird way kind of equates being in an abusive relationship to living in a haunted house. It was a very good parallel. It was very well done. Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. I read this, I believe, for the Amazing Readathon in June this year. It follows our main character, whose name is Tisana, and she has been sold into slavery in her childhood, and she has been basically told by her enslaver that if she's able to raise X amount of dollars that he will release her, and it's this absorbent amount that he never believes that she'll fully be able to achieve. She does achieve that amount of money, and when she presents it to him, he laughs at her and was like, I was just kidding actually. And she kills him because that's what you do. She goes on the run. She goes to find this group of people called the Orders, which is this company that she's kind of always wanted to join. It's an organization of magic welders strong enough to destroy her former masters. In order for her to gain her spot, they send her to this like reclusive guy who used to be a member of the order but has kind of left, and it just kind of evolves and devolves from there. Playing the Witch Card by KJ Dell'Antonia. I actually have an entire reading vlog of this. This was the first book that I picked up this year from my library. I will link that video down below for you. This involves a woman who grew up in a witchy family, but she has kind of walked away from that life. After her grandmother passes away, she and her daughter move back to the town that her grandmother lived in to kind of take over her grandmother's shop and her home, and they're kind of on the run from her ex-husband, and basically it shows like her having to put magic back in her life and what that means for her and her daughter. Planes, Trains, and All the Feels by Livy Hart. This one follows Cassidy and Luke. They meet at an airport. They are both trying to go across country to deal with things with their family. Cassidy is going for her sister's wedding. Luke is going because his sister's being very secretive about things going on with one of their parents. And so he's going to check up on things in a surprise manner. Their flight gets canceled and then a whole bunch of other things happen. And so they basically end up like carpooling together, but then something happens to the car. They have to take a train, they have to take a bus, they have to I don't think they take a boat, but there's a lot. And basically it's just them trying to get to the other side of the country and the feelings that evolve in that time span. And the last of the books that I have already read, which you also haven't heard me talk about yet, because it'll be in the recently read arcs video, which is funny because I read this several months ago, so how recent is it really? Looking for Smoke by K.A. Coble. This book follows Mara, who is half Blackfeet, and she and her parents move to the Blackfeet reservation, and it kind of starts off her showing like her outsidedness, how she feels different from the other people on the reservation. And there's this big celebration at the beginning of the book, and it really is written very, very, very well as far as like Coble putting you in the space. She writes very atmospherically. It's done very well. But basically there's Mara, Lauren, Brody, and Eli, and those four have to figure out who had murdered Lauren's sister in the past and who has murdered someone in the present. And they kind of like go through all of these things where they don't all necessarily like each other. There's some trust issues, and then trying to figure out what's going on in the community and why people have gone missing. This book does deal heavily with the murdered and missing Indigenous women and also the Two Feather Project, two things that exist in our real world. They really highlight how the largest percentage of missing women in the United States and Canada is Indigenous peoples, and how they don't get nearly the public attention and media as women who look like me. So it does deal heavily with that. So I highly, highly recommend this book. I very much loved it. That was it. That was all of the books that I have already read. Let's hop into ones that are parts of series that I'm reading. Yes, I ordered enough books that I separated them into categories. First, we have one that I have no idea how I didn't already own, and that is Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. This is the last book in the last hours. Yes, book 3, last hours. I have read the first 2 books. I hated the end of the second book. But like, you know where it's going to go, so it's not like you hate it and you can't live with it. You just have to wait for this book to come out and then for everything to fix itself. But I just never actually bought this book and read it, so. I mean, she's a chunk, obviously. If you don't know at this point what Cassandra Clare's books are about, I don't know how to help you. The Wedding Witch by Erin Sterling. This is the 3rd book in the Hexed trilogy. This series follows a group of women who are friends and or related, as well as a group of brothers who everybody's witches. They all have separate romances. I don't actually know who this one follows because I forget. So, Rise and Divine by Alana Harper. This is the 5th or 6th book in this series. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th book in the series. These are the witches of Thistle Grove. Thistle Grove is a town that exists that has magic, and there are multiple witch families who live there. Is it 4? Is it 5? I don't remember. It's also been a while since I read the last book. I also hated the last book in this series with a fiery passion. So I've been kind of holding off on reading this one. I hope I don't hate this one too. But yeah, just different romances around different families set in this really cutesy small town. A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch by Sarah Hawley. Same vein. This is the 2nd book to A Demon's Guide. A Witch's Guide to Dating a Demon. That's it. Same feel. Different relationships, different couples, set in a small town. All the vibes. That was that. That was all of it. Now we're into other stuff. I don't know what most of these are about, so don't expect long descriptions because I don't have them. What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Couldn't tell you, haven't read any T. Kingfisher. Found this for like $1.50, so heard people talk about it. Picked it up. Raiders of the Lost Heart by Joe Sequeira. This was on my 12 Books by 12 Friends. My friend Brianna recommended this to me last year. She is no longer on the booktube, and it is a romance kind of set around Raiders of the Lost Ark. But That's pretty much all I know. Happy Place, Emily Henry. I had fully intended not to read this one because I had not heard great things about this one in particular. But then I remembered that I also heard terrible things about Book Lovers, and Book Lovers is probably my favorite Emily Henry. And the other girls from my writing retreat girlies, some of them have read this and really enjoyed it. So went ahead and picked this up. Witches Get Stuff Done by Molly Harper. Picked this up solely based off of the fact that it was on sale and the name, and I'm assuming that it's going to be like the other witchy small town romances that we just talked about. So One Dark Window by Rachel Gaelig. Heard a lot of good things about this one this year. Also heard a lot of negative things about this one this year. Was on sale. Decided to pick it up. I know basically the girl has like a monster or a creature or some kind of magic that lives in her head that talks to her, and that is enough to get her killed in the kingdom that she lives in. That's all I know. The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is the first book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. I picked this up solely because I enjoyed the Daughter of No Worlds. I have no clue what this series is about, so. Craven Manor, Darcy Coates. One of the few Darcy Coates I don't own. It's a haunted house story. We know I'll like it. Christina Comes Out of Her Shell by Abby Waxman. Have no clue what this one's about, but solely based off of the fact that it's Abby Waxman, and I've enjoyed everything I've read by her. One of my all-time favorites is The Bookish Life of Nina Hill, which is by Abby Waxman, so picked this one up. Bring Me Your Midnight by Rachel Griffin. Again, was on sale. Also know I like Rachel Griffin. Don't know what this book is about. The House of Last Resort by Christopher Golden. I remember that this one is set in Sicily, and it involves, I believe, an American couple who move there, and they move into this house, and when people in the town find out what house they moved into, people are concerned. I don't know what the reason is. I'm sure that's the whole point of the book, that we'll find that out together. But we know I love haunted house books, so. We then have Where Sleeping Girls Lie by Farida Abike Ayamide, and I picked this up solely based off of having heard good things about it. I know it's dark academia, which is not typically my jam, but figured I'd give it a shot. Why not? Can't hurt. The Good Samaritan by John Maas. No clue what this is about. Picked up solely based off of the fact that I loved whatever that book was that I read by John Maas earlier this year, and it was on sale. So speaking of books that I loved and were on sale, I previously read all of Taryn Mather's Summoner series. Like, it's right here. What's it called? So I picked up his other YA series, which is The Chosen, The Challenger, and The Champion. These are the Contender trilogy. Don't know what it's about. I did read the back of it, and it does seem like it's going to be very similar to the Summoner series as far as like a guy who's on the outside, who's kind of like nobody thinks he's going to be very good at things, but he is kind of deal. You know, typical 2015 YA, but I like 2015 YA, so why not? And the last book that I have is not actually one that I purchased. It was one that was sent to me by Bethany at Beautifully Bookish Bethany. As part of the Patreon perks, I got Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. This was an ARC copy that she had that she thought I would enjoy. Follows two boys, Thomas and Andrew. One of them is like an artist who draws like these weird creepy monsters. The other is a boy who exists. I read the back of this, I promise. Basically, it says, desperate to figure out what's going on with his friend, Andrew follows Thomas into the off-limits forest one night and catches him fighting a nightmarish monster. Thomas's drawings have come to life and are killing anyone close to him. To make sure no one dies, the boys battle the monsters every night. But as their obsession with each other grows stronger, so do the monsters, and Andrew begins to fear that the only way to stop the creatures may be to destroy their creator. This was on my list of books to pre-order for the year, and I did not, because I was like, you don't need more books, and then Bethany sent it to me, so obviously I need to read it, because that's like the universe telling me that I'm going to enjoy it, right? Sure. Those are the 28, I think was the number of books that I've bought in the last 5 weeks. That's it. That's it for the year. Even if I buy more books this year, it's not, we're done. We're done for books for the year. One of the next few videos that you see will be every book on my physical TBR, because I'm going to need some help picking out books to read next. So I'm going to pull you guys in for that. And it's a lot, you know? Feel like maybe I should have stopped buying books at some point, but I'm having a good time. So that's all that matters. Have you done an amazingly massive book haul recently? Please let me know below. I want to know that I'm not the only one out here who's buying all of the books. If you made it this far in the video, leave me a book stack emoji down below for obvious reasons. That is all I have for today. If you don't want to miss anything I have going on in the future in the library, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down below. And until then, I will see you guys next time. Bye!